This is Larry Henares making your day with the second and last part of Conrado de Caro's article entitled Elephant in the Room. And we continue to quote and to conclude. The first thing the delegates drove home to me, as I saw from the images on television last Friday night, was how poor we are. Never mind the subdivisions adrift in water with the occasional family trapped on roofs waiting to be rescued by rubber tinges which bobbed plentifully about. Mind only the slums surrounded by water that rose to the chest, their teeming denizens wading or swimming through it, trying to retrieve what precious few possessions lay tucked in the obscure corners of their cardboard hovels. There have always been slums, but it takes nature's fury of the kind that struck last Friday. However, it was of the relatively milder kind compared to Ondoy to push their stark reality to the surface of consciousness. You realize that a great many of Metro Manila are slums. And a great many of Metro Manila residents, if not the majority of them, by their sheer plenitude, live in them. It is not this government's fault, of course. The slums have been there for as long as we can remember, though they have been growing over the years, almost imperceptibly, until something like this stuns us to their roaring presence. Poverty has been there for as long as we can remember, though it hasn't greatly waned, and now exists side by side with record growth. The second has barely dented the first. Its reality check. A reminder that we may not pat ourselves on the back for a qualified achievement. Or worse, imagine ourselves to have gone over the hump, let alone way past it. Poverty remains teeming. Poverty remains grinding. More about this after these messages. This is Larry Henares making your day with the second and last part of Conrado de Caro's article entitled Elephant in the Room. And we continue to quote and to conclude. A thing driven home by the fact that it's the poor who take the brunt of storms, deluge, and other ravaging. Not all victims are the kind who have lost their homes, their kin, or their mind, and can avail of disaster relief. Most are ordinary folk, electricians, mechanics, truck drivers, jeepney drivers, factory hands, office clerks, call center employees, messengers, who earn their daily bread daily, and whose loss of one day, not to speak of several days, from a cataclysm that produces cataclysmic results. Not everyone is a student who will rebel at the forced vacation and flee to the higher ground of malls. Most are hand-to-mouths who will deeply mind not having anything in hand to shove to the mouth or mouths of family from not having found work that day. There is much to be thankful for in Mario having produced only a handful of casualties, but there's much to fear in future downpours and torrential rains and great floods coming this way, not all of which will be as sedate as Mario, some of which will be biblical, like Yolanda, which will devastate the poor most of all, which will wreak havoc on those who can afford the least havoc in their lives, which will leave bereft those who are already mind-bogglingly bereft. Mahirap ang mahirap if a seemingly minor deluge like Mario, at least so in comparison to apocalyptic ones, has anything to say to us, it is to sound a note of urgency, not just about the horrendous reality of climate change, but about the even more horrendous reality of the plight of the poor. I do hope, with no small help from Pope Francis' visit next January, that becomes the overriding issue in the next elections. It is the elephant in the room, the monstrosity that we keep not seeing. This is Lara Henares making your day, saying good day, God bless you. Thank you very much for being with us. Till next time, hasta la bye-bye.